So today I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about what it is that I do on a day-to-day basis, what it takes to be an interior designer, the types of jobs that you can get with an interior design education, and just give you a bit of insight into what a profession in interior design is all about. What I love about design is that it's everywhere. Good or bad, everything about the world around us is designed. With so many TV shows on, or programs on TV, touting design and home improvements and things like that, everyone fancies themselves a designer, but I'm here to tell you that there's more to interior design than decorating your bedroom or your kitchen, and not to say that there's anything wrong with residential design or decorating, but in interior design, in the way that I practice it, is a bit more in-depth than that. So interior design is a profession that allows you to go down many different roads. No day is ever the same, no job is ever the same, no client is ever the same. So if you're like me and you get bored really easily, this is the job that allows you to not be doing the same thing 8:30 to 5 every day, working on the same type of project day to day. Everything is constantly changing, so it helps to keep your mind moving. So interior design is about problem solving. No two designers are ever going to come up with the same solution for a design problem. And that doesn't mean that one solution is better than another. It just means that how you've interpreted the task that you've been given is different. And the outcome is usually the same. You have a client who hopefully at the end of the project is satisfied, but the route that you take to get there may be different. Interior design is about being aware of your physical surroundings. Interior design teaches you to see the world multidimensionally. It teaches you how everything impacts you. For example, your chair that you sit on in your classroom. If it's really uncomfortable and you spend the whole hour-long class moving around and trying to get comfortable, you're not really focusing on what your teacher is trying to teach you or what you're supposed to be learning. Interior design also teaches you to be sensitive to your surroundings. Not only sensitive in how the users are going to use the space, but sensitive in how your design decisions impact the environment. For example, a dementia patient, they're going to have different needs than a kid that's in a children's hospital. So you need to be sensitive to their needs and respond to those needs accordingly. It's sort of commonplace that design and what we do, we all make green choices, but understanding how the material choices that you make impact the environment or how they're going to impact your users, it's a really important concept that you need to be aware of. Interior design is also a business. A successful design means you have a happy client, and a happy client is often a repeat client. But successful design also means that you're profitable. And by that I mean you need to understand what the fees are that you have for a project and how you're going to manage those fees so that you don't spend too much time and at the end of the project you realize that you've gone way over budget in terms of what you're specifying, or it's taken you 3 months longer than it was supposed to, and then those profits or the fees that you have are actually not what you have at the end. You've eaten up some of your own money. So you can be the most successful designer in the world and make the most beautiful spaces, have your projects photographed, but if you don't have a good business sense, you're not going to be around for that long. So what do you need to be a successful interior designer? You need to have a positive attitude. Design is often about compromise. A client isn't going to come to you and say, I'm not really sure what I want, so you just do whatever you think is best, and I'll give you all the money in the world to come up with that solution. It's a constant back and forth. You'll propose a solution to the client, and they'll say, well, yeah, I like this aspect of it, but I don't like that aspect. And then you need to make changes, and you don't always agree with those changes, but you need to work together and compromise. You need to have great communication skills. Clients often have a difficult time reading plans and elevations, so you need to be able to verbalize what your design intent is so that when you sit down with a client and you show them a set of drawings, you can say, okay, when you walk into the space, the feeling that you're going to get is one of a dramatic warm, inviting space. There's going to be natural light coming in. The floor finishes are going to be, such and such. Your ceiling is going to look like this. You need to be able to verbalize what your intent is. You need to be able to have spatial awareness. You need to understand how your ceiling and your walls and your floors, your windows and your lighting, all of that comes together. You also need to be able to coordinate the different systems that go into a space, the lighting systems or the mechanical systems, the structure that it takes to build a building. This room is a perfect example. That wall over there actually is retractable, so it becomes one large space. So if you were set up that way, these columns that are in the middle of the room aren't really that important, but when you set it up in the way that we're set up right now, the people in the back, this column's right in the middle of your space. So it's right in your direct sight line. So you need to be able to coordinate how your space is going to be laid out, how things like columns, mechanical diffusers, things like that, how they're all going to impact the space and how the space is going to be able to be used. You need to have an interest in people. You need to really care about the users that are going to be using your space. What are their needs? Really understand what it is that they want you to do. You need to have a creative approach. It's very easy to come up with a design solution and say, okay, yep, that's it, that's perfect. That doesn't always mean it's the best solution, so you need to be able to step past that, think outside the box, try new ideas, try different things that maybe haven't been tried before. And, sometimes it doesn't always work out great, but sometimes, it's a great solution, and then you can work on that for future projects. You need to have a desire to make spaces better. There's so many poorly designed spaces out there that if there had just been a little bit more thought put into it, the users of the space would benefit that much more. You need to have technical skills. All of the drawings and things that we work on in our office are all done on computers. So you need to have an understanding of computer drafting or 3D modeling. We use AutoCAD or Revit to do our drawings. We use SketchUp, or there's a program called Rhino, which is a 3D modeling program. But you also have to have really good management skills, time management. You need to be able to work in a team. You need to be able to juggle multiple things. In any given day, I'm working on 5 different projects, so I need to be able to prioritize and, figure out, okay, this task needs to be done, ahead of this one. If you're not great with your time management, you're having angry clients call you or contractors call you saying, where's the information I need? So you need to stay on top of it and be able to be organized. So there's a lot of different places that you could work as an interior designer. The firm that I work for is an architectural firm. We have about 55 people in our Winnipeg office, and then we have an office in Regina and another one in Victoria. There's a handful of large firms like that in the city, all working on different types of projects, great places to work. You could be a sole practitioner or work for a small design firm, say 5 to 10 people. Lots of corporations have in-house designers. Retail stores or restaurant chains will have a dedicated interior designer that works for them, that solely works on their new stores or their new restaurants that are opening up. There's a lot of engineering firms that are buying up architectural and interior design companies, so they'll have a design component, and they'll sort of be a one-stop shop for new buildings and spaces. You could be a product rep, say you're representing carpet or floor wall finishes. Like I said, you could work for a retail company and do design for them. So I'm just going to briefly walk you through, what a typical project entails. So how they usually start is a client will decide that they've outgrown their existing space, they want to move to a new space, or they need an entirely new building. So they'll submit what's called a request for proposal, and they'll send that out to a handful of firms, outlining what their needs are. So we'll receive those, and we'll review them, see if it's something that we have time to work on, it's something that as a firm we want to work on. We'll establish what our fees for that project will be. We'll collaborate with mechanical electrical and structural consultants, and we'll put together our consultant team. We'll put together a timeline as to how long we think the design will take, and then those get submitted back to the client. Sometimes they have an interview process, so they'll shortlist, say they had sent it out to 5 firms, they'll shortlist to 3, and then they'll interview their top 3, and then make their decision based on that. So once the project has been awarded to a firm, we move into preliminary design, and at this stage, it's very general. We're just sort of establishing some ground rules as to what the client needs, what is their budget. We'll often do a very early on generalized budget just to make sure that how much money the client actually has is feasible for what it's going to take to construct this project. From there, we go into design development, and what this means is we'll do programming for the project. We'll meet with all of the user groups for whoever will be using the new space, and we'll establish, if accounting needs to be next to the president, or if this department needs to be removed and they need to have privacy, if there's security issues, things like that. Do they need a staff room? Do they need a gym? What are all of the components that they need to incorporate into their project? We may at this point also do a more detailed budget just to stay on top of things. Once design development is done, we move into working drawings or construction documents. And what this entails is we're putting together the drawing package that will be handed out to all of the contractors so that the building or the space can actually be built. So that will be floor plans, elevations, ceiling plans. The mechanical and electrical consultants will put together their drawings on how the mechanical system will work or the type of lighting that's going to go into the space. We also put together what's called a specification, which is essentially every component that is going into the project. It'll list how how demolition is to occur. If it's a lead project, there's strict guidelines as to how things that are being removed from the existing space, how they can be disposed of, how the furniture is constructed, or the type of glue that can be used on a carpet, things like that. All of those are outlined in the specification. So once that drawing package is done, we put the drawings out for tender, and what that means is we'll call on, at least 3 contractors, and they'll have a period of time to review the drawings, ask questions, and then at the end of that, they'll submit their price, and they'll also tell us how long it's going to take them to build the project. So we review all of this information with the client, and then we make a recommendation as to which contractor they should go with. During construction, that's the contract administration phase. So there'll be regular site meetings, which are usually once a week or once every 2 weeks. You'll get to go on site and review the processes that are going on, make sure that things are being constructed how you drew them. Everyone's following the steps that they should be taking. If there's questions or the contractor has any suggestions as to things that may be unclear or vague in the drawings, or if they have suggestions how to do something a bit differently that will work better or save the client money, it's just a constant back and forth as the building is constructed. Another phase that we often work on would be furniture. So we can help the client specify any furniture or equipment that is going to be used in their space. We can coordinate moving items from their existing space to their new space, just anything that may be involved with relocating from an existing to a new space. So I'm just going to show you some projects that our firm works on. Our firm is a studio-based office, so what that means is we're broken up into groups. We have an institutional studio, which is what I'm part of. We have an education recreation studio, a residential commercial studio, and a hospitality entertainment studio. And by being in studios, it allows you to gain expertise and become specialized in certain areas so that we can be leaders within our industry. And if a client comes to us and they want to build a hotel, well, we've got a core group of people that really know what it takes to build a successful hotel. So these are some images from our residential commercial studio. This bottom photo here is from the Humane Society that we worked on a few years ago. We've got some images from the old McNally Robinson store that was in Polo Park, and a few from their store in Toronto. The image on the far side was a floor plan for a condo development that we were working on in Victoria. The client had asked us to put together some promotional information that they could hand out to potential clients that were going to be purchasing these condos. The top images are from a restaurant that we worked on at the new University of Winnipeg Richardson College of the Environment. The bottom images are from the new Family Center at Assiniboine Park. I worked on the Family Center. If you guys have the opportunity to go there, it's a really neat building and space. Currently, it's going to be a grass roof building, so the grasses and the plants on the roof haven't been planted yet, but by the end of the summer, early fall, the roof will look like the model closest to me. And you can see that tree coming up. There's going to be a tree planted, and there's a hole cut out in the roof, so the tree eventually will grow through that hole. These are some images from our institutional studio. We've got the Doctors of Manitoba building in the far upper corner, and then the other images are from the new Women's Correctional Center that I worked on. It just opened in January in Headingley, and this is a project that I was involved in for about the last 3 or 4 years. Really fascinating facility, an really interesting project to work on. These are some images from our education recreation studio. You're all familiar with the MTS Center. There's West Kildonan Collegiate, their student commons that opened a few years ago. The bottom two are Richardson College of the Environment, Bronx Park Community Club, and then a school that I worked on in Kenora. We've got Garden City Collegiate, new student commons and gym space. That's a project that I worked on that was done about almost 2 years ago. And then a new school that we're working on in Regina. These are some images from our hospitality, our entertainment projects. We've got the Radisson Hotel, which was done a few years ago. The Canada Inns that's being constructed at Health Sciences Center. It's under construction right now, and it'll open at the end of the fall. So that's a project that I'm working on right now that is in the contract administration phase. So I'm currently reviewing shop drawings, and what that means is any of the millwork that's going into the space, the mill worker that is going to construct it all, they'll send me drawings and just verifying how everything is supposed to be constructed. So I have about 1,000 pages of drawings that I need to review, make sure that the finishes that are specified are called up correctly on the drawing, that they're going to build it how I envisioned it to be built. And then I mark those up, send them back, and then they'll build them according to these markups. That bottom drawing is an image that we submitted to the client during design development for that hotel. It's just a rendered elevation showing them what their elevator lobbies are going to look like. And then this bottom image is a lounge that we worked on at McPhillip Street Station. So I touched a little bit on different types of careers that you can take or follow after receiving an interior design education. You can stay within the architectural field. It's a great jumping off point for graphic design or industrial design. As I said, you could be a sales or a product rep, which still allows you to sort of work within the design industry, but you're not doing design day to day, you're more of a support service. And then there's a few different types of education that you can get with interior design. There's 3 accredited degree programs in the country. There's the one at U of M. So what that entails is you would do your University 1, and then you would apply to the Faculty of Architecture and do their 3-year undergrad Bachelor of Environmental Design. with your third year of that program being focused on interior design. And then there's a 2-year Masters of Interior Design program that would follow your bachelor's. Ryerson University in Toronto has a fantastic Bachelor of Interior Design program. And Kwantlen Polytechnic in Vancouver also has a Bachelor of Interior Design program. And there's a number of programs across the country that are 2 or 3 year diploma programs. And not saying that the degree programs are better. They just fall under the accredited programs in the country. Each province has a professional association for the interior designers in that province. And in Manitoba, to be a member of PITM, you need to have graduated from one of those accredited programs. So once you've graduated and you have a job and you've worked for a minimum of 2 years, you can take a series of 4 exams that are written over 2 days, and they're put on by the National Council for Interior Design Qualification. And upon successfully completing those, you're able to call yourself a professional interior designer, and you're registered within the professional association. So salary ranges for an interior designer. Coming out of school, probably starting around 25. Very quickly from there, you can sort of move up to the low 30s, and depending on the type of firm that you work for, or if you work for yourself, the type of projects you get, how busy you want to be. Probably 25 to 70 is a good window to gauge what you would make. If you want to be a principal or a partner in your firm, there's obviously more opportunity to make more money. Architecture and design is not, if you're looking to make $1 million, probably not the profession that you're going to do that. But it's a great profession if you're passionate about design or improving surroundings. Like I mentioned earlier, it's constantly changing. So it's really tough to get bored at what I do anyways. Even if you're working on a large-scale project like the prison that I worked on for 4 years, you're always working on other things at the same time. So, you can change things up a bit. So that's sort of in a nutshell what I do, a brief overview of interior design. So if anyone has any questions.